keep on sharing because the truth is the only thing that can win. And the problem is that many of these people, again, are not reading the Bible. Some, by the way, do read the Bible, but they read it wrong. And that's very scary as well. I am going back because I want to show you a little bit of the reality. So this is a village neighboring Israel in the north, in Lebanon. A house in a community bombed by an Israeli aircraft, and look what happens in the house. Up. What do you see? Explosions. What are these? Rockets. These are all rockets exploding. Now imagine yourself that one of these rockets flying into the neighbors and killed them. Who do we blame? Israel. But who put the rockets there? Hezbollah. In Lebanon. Iran's fault. But this is in the middle of the neighborhood. So this is why you hear the Israeli army trying to evacuate those civilian Lebanese, telling them, hey, move, we have something we need to take care of there. If your house is going to get destroyed, it's Hezbollah's fault because they kept rockets in it. I want to show you something here. Look, this is Lebanon. This is a house by the border with Israel. And this is illustration, but you're going to see the real house soon. In the house, and this is not something, I'm bringing it from the summer, in July. This is a rocket, very advanced rocket hidden in the house. DR-3, it's a cruise missile. And here you're going to see footage from airplane, that Israeli airplane that is videoing this house by the border of Israel, and the terrorist is opening the door to the rocket to go out and be launched. And now you're going to see the terrorist standing next to it. It's going to be surrounded by a circle. You see that? And look at the cruise missile that the airplane is shooting. It's going to get close to the house, and right before it's going to hit, you're going to see the rocket in the house. You see the rocket? Wait, here's the rocket. Boom. This is what we've been fighting for. Now imagine yourself next to this house. There is a house with civilians, and they may get hurt from this. Whose fault is this? This is the reality we have to fight with. Now if you tell them, go evacuate, they'll tell the terrorists, take the rocket out of them. It's very expensive, these rockets. They lost a lot of money. I do want to take you back to this. This is a reality. Now, one of the things that saves Israel, you've probably heard the Iron Dome, right? The Iron Dome is saving life because it can intercept missiles in the air. But this is not what saved us. Last end of September, I came on a speaking tour here to America. I was in San Antonio, Texas. And the day before I left, we hear in the push on the news, sirens in Givat Avni. 2 houses from my parents, the Givat Avni is the place, a house got hit by a rocket directly. Thank God, the people who were there, a couple with a young girl, went into the safe room. Every house that was built since the 90s in Israel has a safe room. We don't have one because we live in a very old house. I'll tell you later how we'd handle it. It's not fun. But these people were in the safe room, which is built out of concrete, heavy concrete, and they were safe. The rocket went into the shower about 9 feet from the room, and they were okay. The house was destroyed, but they were okay. So what saves us is not Iron Dome, because Iron Dome is not 100%. It has 90% of hitting rockets that are aimed to center of population. But what if you're running in the fields? What if you're working in your fields? Iron Dome will not be activated. Because of statistics, it's very expensive. What saves us are the siren that tells you, run to the bomb shelter. You're about to see now a video from last September next to Haifa, and you will not see, it's 7:30 in the morning. This is a time when everyone leaves for school. You won't see anyone in the street. Why? Because there was a siren and they're all in the safe rooms, and you'll see a rocket hits. Pay attention to the left side, right behind the white car. I don't know if the sound is okay. You see that? No one got hurt. Why? Because they were in a safe room. So if you go and talk to me statistics, why Israel doesn't have so many casualties, and you say it's so many thousands, dozens of thousands of rockets have been shot into Israel in 1 year, it's because we protect ourselves. I recommend to take this information and use it when you have a conversation with someone. Share it with your grandkids, with kids, with everyone. Because people are using it against us. Say, look how many casualties in Gaza. No one got hurt in Israel. You are horrible people. No. We are amazing people because we protect ourselves. They are horrible because they want to kill us. We've seen this. This is all the fronts that Israel is dealing with. Here are the main fronts that we had to deal with. Don't forget we had Iranian attack. The biggest missile attack in the world happened in April 13th and in the beginning of October from Iran, launching against Israel. Cruise missiles, drones. I have a friend who's flying F-16, sorry. He's the co-pilot, he's the navigator. He activates all the weapon. And he was there in April 13. They had few hours, they knew that these 130 drones were flying towards Israel. Together with the American Air Force, together with the Jordanian Air Force, they hunted all the drones that were coming from Iran in the Iraq and Jordan over here. They split this territory to strips. Each 4 airplanes got a strip. And if a drone crossed from your land, from your territory, you will tell the others, and they cooperated. Israel, American airplanes. This is 0 drones hit the ground. The cruise missiles also 0, but the ballistic missiles, they did destroy the ones that were supposed to hit population, but there were many that hit army bases. Same thing in the beginning of October. In the beginning of October, the entire Israeli airplanes from all Air Force, all air vehicles were in the air. They knew exactly that it's going to come. And this is why we, after it, attacked Iran and destroyed their ability of air defense. This is why we have a kind of a window soon until they're going to redevelop their rocket project to maybe attack the core of this whole conflict, the Iranian nuclear project. This project can destroy Israel with 2 missiles. And to avoid that, we have to make sure they won't do it. Diplomacy didn't work so far. They keep on developing it. I don't know what will happen. But that's Iran. Gaza Strip, basically Israel actually cut it into 2. It was, this whole area was controlled by the army. This area was evacuated mostly, and they moved here to the humanitarian area. This humanitarian area was used, and I'll show you later for what. Today, the Israeli army withdraw, and it's only here in the perimeter. Perimeter is kind of like about a kilometer, in between 700 to kilometer, that the Israeli army controls in Gaza. No one can go in. Whoever will go in will die. And I hope finally they will do it. They need to know that they cannot get closer to the fence because we can't trust them anymore. They've done their terror. Lebanon, these are a lot of attacks. This is the Golan Heights, the Sea of Galilee where Jesus walks on water. So this is the front in Lebanon. Today, again, it's very quiet and it's coming back to itself. Hopefully, the world, America and Lebanon will recover and push Hezbollah out. You need to understand Hezbollah is stronger than the Lebanese army. They have very strong political power, but finally they were pushed out of the politics because the president was elected with this. Don't forget that the Israelis signed a peace treaty, or a ceasefire agreement. All the Israelis said, what? Why? We're such in a good position now, we can destroy them. Because we were convinced probably that diplomacy here will work, and the Lebanese, the Maronites, the Christians in Lebanon, the Druze in Lebanon will take over this Shiite organization. And pay attention to what happened a week after. You know what happened a week after Israel signed the ceasefire with Lebanon? Towards the end of November, Syria collapsed. Bashar al-Assad regime no longer exists. which was a regime that let Iran to play in Syria, to do in Syria whatever they want and bring a lot of weapons. Now it's being controlled by jihadists. That shows so far they're playing the same language that we want they will play, but who knows? The Julani, the leader of Syria today, he's been a jihadist. He was originally part of Al-Qaeda. I don't know if you know. Maybe he saw the light, I don't know. But this is why Israel has forces in Syria, in what's called the demilitarized zone right now, protecting Israel from any forces to come into Israel, to make sure it will not happen. We very, very, very have to be careful. This is why the Israeli army is in high alert all the time. This is the Arrow system. It's not the Iron Dome. This is the one that protects us from rockets from Yemen. They send rockets also, these Yemenites that cooperate with Iran, outside of the atmosphere. It's a huge missile developed together with America. Arrow system, very important. This is my neighborhood. Welcome. The Middle East. I want you to pay attention to Isaiah 62. So Mordechai tells to Esther, Isaiah 62, on your walls, O Jerusalem, I have set watchmen. All day and all nights they should never be silent. Pay attention to this, never be silent. Esther should not be silent. Isaiah tells you not to be silent. And this is why I am here. I've been for 3.5 months, actually almost 4 months, in the Holy Land of the United States, sharing this with many, many communities as I could. You probably will be my last talk, hopefully for this year, because in April I hope to get some more tourists back. With the help of everyone, we will be able to survive this war economically, not to sell and not to move, get out of our house. And so when I left you in November, whoever been to my talk in November here, I went back and joined the army. I guarded my community, and I'll show you why do we need guards in the community, because we're very close to the West Bank. And after this finished, I started my journey. In April, I was all around Texas and the Midwest in May, and back in July, Georgia and Florida, and September, California, Bay Area, and Texas again, and many other places. Minnesota, I've been a few times. And that's me listening to Isaiah and listening to Mordechai, not to be silent. I always like to, I love Amos 9. I'll tell you why. Because Amos 9, he's talking about a prophecy of the return of the Jews to their land, the people of God. And I'll show you where I live later, and you will see this prophecy come to life. It says, I will plant them in their own land, and they shall never again uprooted. But it says also, they shall plant vineyards and drink their wine, and they shall make gardens and eat their fruits. You'll see how the vines are surrounded where I live today in Judea, in the land of Judah. It's unbelievable. It's only happening in the last 20 years when there's a lot of wine industry developing in Israel. Pay attention to, sending you for homework, the blessing that Jacob gives to Judah. It's full of wine descriptions. This is why some people believe we're getting there to the end of days. I want to share with you a story that will help you to understand better my heritage. These two old people, the man, his name was Abraham, her name was Sarah. It's not 4,000 years old picture. These are my great-grandparents, and they came from Romania. They're Jews, and the little dude over here is me. They were kicked out of their home in Romania, and during the Holocaust they survived, and they came right after the state was born in 48. Their daughter, my grandma, this lady, she came ahead of them, and she married to a Holocaust survivor, my grandpa. I think you've met him. He just passed away last June. He survived, he was 95. He survived by himself in the forest as a kid, 10 years old, 2.5 years until the war was over. And then he comes to Israel. He's been arrested by the Brits, and he's getting released, and he has to fight in the war that launched against us by the Arab countries, and he survives, and he's becoming a policeman. The guy who is a policeman that actually work with dogs that finds drugs and stuff like that, and explosives. This is my grandpa. And she told us an amazing story. Every time they celebrated Passover, Abraham used to bring an orange from the Holy Land. And it was so important for them that they kept the orange during the celebration with them. And at the end, they used to peel it, and everyone took a little bite to taste the flavors of home, of Jerusalem, of the promised land. They took the skin and made a marmalade, so they'll have for the whole year the flavor, sweet flavor of this place. And they finished Passover like every Jewish family until today finishes Passover by saying, next year in Jerusalem. Because this is where we're supposed to be, according to Amos, according to Ezekiel, according to everything. Next year in Jerusalem. And in 48, they achieved. They made it. This Arab lady, her name is Lucky Mazal. She's a Jew. She spoke Arabic until the end of her life. And she was kicked out together with her daughter, my grandma. This is my great-grandma, from Iraq. The Iraqi Jewish community was in Iraq since 586 BC when the Babylonians kicked the Jews out of Jerusalem during the first temple destruction. And in 1951, all of the Jewish community has been pushed out from Iraq. Get out. Where did they go? Home. Where is home? Israel. These are my grandparents. They spoke Arabic, they knew Arabic, but they also spoke Hebrew. We were a community. This is me, by the way. I remember her. She spoke Arabic. I couldn't communicate with her. Unfortunately, I didn't know good enough Arabic back then. When you hear from the river to the sea, all these protests around America, they literally means that from the Jordan River, which means the eastern border of Israel, to the Mediterranean, there won't be me. They don't want a Jewish state between the river to the sea, and that's a statement that we cannot accept. And this is why we have to share all the time. Now, I do want to run over the timeline of the land, something I didn't do this morning. It's super important. Why? Because it gives you the perspective of my connection to the land, your connection to the land. And I can send it to you if you want, but I'm going to run over quickly. Abraham, Sarah are 4,000 years ago. That's approximately the time. The time of 1200 BC is the time of Joshua coming into the land from the Jordan River to Jericho. 1200 BC, more than 3,000 years ago. 3,000 years ago is the time of King David. A bit after, Solomon builds the first temple in the 900s BC. If you want the divided kingdom, after Solomon, Jeroboam, Rehoboam, remember that? Israel, Judea, Israel and Judah. Israel is in the north, Judah is in the south. This is happening until 722. In 722, the Assyrians kick out the 10 lost tribes of Israel, the northern kingdom Israel, and Judah is left around Jerusalem. And then in 586, this is a day to remember, Judah was destroyed by the Babylonians. The temple has been destroyed, Jews going on exile, but they come back 70 years later. You read about their return in the books of Ezra and Nehemiah, 515 BC approximately. You don't have to remember, I can send you this list. And you can find it everywhere. But the timeline that's important for us is not stopping, because then, during the time of Ezra and Nehemiah, right after them, we have Alexander the Great coming to the land, and he brings what we call the classic culture. The Greek culture later on continues with the Roman, what you know from Rome and Greece and all of that. This pagan worshipping of the gods of Rome and Greece, he brings it. And right after he comes, the area will be controlled by his generals, that one will settle in Syria, one in Egypt, and the Syrian one in 167 BC will get into Jerusalem, interrupt the temple work, and bring a lot of impure things into it. 3 years later, the brave Maccabees, the Hasmonean family, led by Judah the Maccabee, will take over, and this is Hanukkah. Remember Hanukkah? We light the candles. 164 BC. Jewish independence over the land. And if you saw the coin I'm selling out, and I really think people should have this widow's mite. This was mited in Jerusalem during the time of the Maccabees controlling. The last time Jews controlled their own land before Israel was before the Roman came. 63 is when the Romans are coming, BC. That's the time of the New Testament. And they're there until the empire changes center from Rome to Byzantium, which is Constantinople of today, or Istanbul of today, the Byzantine time. Then the Roman Empire becomes Christian. The Byzantine time starts in 324 and ends when the Islam is coming to the area in the 7th century, 600s. And then we have the early Islam. Later on, the Crusaders are coming from Europe, taking over Jerusalem. And the late Arabs are coming and pushing the Crusaders. And then comes the Ottomans. The Ottomans I love. They are the Turks. The Ottomans, you learn about them in school. Remember Ottomans? It's the last empire in the region, approximately. And everything that happens in the land of Israel during the Ottomans is during the time that this country was born, of today. All this, the first settlements by, Boston Tea Party, all of that. And later on, your civil war and the gold rush and all of that happening during the time of the Ottomans in the land. And later on, after World War I, the Brits are coming, controlling there from 1917, 18, all the way to 1948. 48, Israel controlled together with Jordan and Egypt. Jordan controlled what we call the West Bank, and Egypt controlled Gaza Strip. And then Israel in 67 takes over. And until today, we have this disputed land, the West Bank and Gaza, and we can talk about, and that's what we're talking about. This is the land, this is the bride. You know the story, now you see the bride. This is the land. You can see that the land is divided into 3 strips. One for north, south. That's the deepest valley in the world, the Dead Sea Valley, the Jordan Valley. Jordan runs over here from Mount Hermon, all the way Sea of Galilee, all the way to the Dead Sea. Jerusalem is in the center of the loaf of bread. I call it the loaf of bread is Judea and Samaria. That's the hill country. And then the coastal plain. Down here will be the desert, the Negev desert. Here's the map. This is the Negev desert. That's the main hill country. That's the deepest valley. This is the Golan Heights. This is Mount Hermon. This is the coastal plain. In the south of it will be the Philistines that will settle here during the time of Joshua, and they will disappear when Israel was destroyed. The kingdom of Israel and of the north, 722. A bit after, during the 600s, the Assyrians will kick out the Philistines, and we don't have any remains of Philistines since the 7th century BC. The name of the Philistines is going to influence the region, and I'll tell you how and why. This is the map of the tribes. Judah is over here. Ephraim is north. Gad and Manasseh and Reuben are on the other side of the Jordan River. You have the important part is Naphtali and Issachar. That's where Nazareth is located, and you have the prophecy and the Sea of Galilee. This whole area will be the kingdom of Israel, here in the kingdom of Israel, and this is the kingdom of Judah after they split. Down here you may see, you can't read it, but it says Philistia. During the time of the Old Testament, the brutal enemies of the Judeans or the Israelites are the Philistines, all right? These Philistines are gone since the 7th century, and this is why during the time of Jesus, the land was called Provincia Judaea, all right? That's the Dead Sea, the Sea of Galilee. This was controlled by King Herod when Jesus was born there. Right after this time, in the year 132 to 135, the Jews going on another uprising against the Romans. The Romans are brutal. They don't like the Jews uprising. The Jews wanted to be free under God. They didn't need the Romans in the middle sacrificing to the Caesar and stuff like that. So the Romans are brutally killing and kicking the Jews out in 135. It's called the Bar Kokhba uprising. They take over Jerusalem. They rename Jerusalem to Aelia Capitolina, the name of Aelius Adrianus. He is the Caesar that makes that. And they rename Judea, Provincia Judea, as a punishment to the Jews, and they rename it Provincia, guess what? Palestina, 135 AD. Why Palestina? They wanted to name it after the most brutal enemies of the Israelites in the Old Testament time. Means that Adrianus, the emperor, knew about the Philistines. But why didn't he call it Provincia Palestina or Philistia or something like that? Because he was speaking Latin. In Latin, you don't have PH or F, you have P. Palestina. That's the origins of the name of Palestine. It's not connected to Arabs. It's not connected to the people today. It's connected to the Romans messing around with the Jews. This is the map of the Ottomans, how the Ottomans divided the land. They called it by cities, the area of Jerusalem, the area of Jaffa, the area of Tyre and Beirut. It wasn't one entity as Israel. During the time of the Ottomans, and this is super important. Do you see this map? Here's the Dead Sea is over here. Sea of Galilee is over here. All of these black dots, it's land that has been purchased by Jews. The Jews, mainly in Europe, but not only, are developing something. They look around them and they see that during the time of the 1800s, many Europeans are getting their own countries, independent Germany and France. And Jews are asking themselves, wait a second, who are we? We're not Germans. We maybe think that we're Germans, and the ones that thought that they're Germans get it into their face in 1933 when they have been told, you're not. And if they left, they survived. If they even live, they're gone during the Holocaust. But they start to ask this question, and they say, wait a second, we are coming from Judea. Let's go back. And this is the beginning of what's called the Zionist movement. And Jews starting to purchase land from local people that were there, mostly Arabs. All of this, pay attention to the letter N over here. That's a lot of the bad land that was there in swamps and stuff. This is most of the Jews are living in the coastal plain today. Look at this after World War I. The Brits are getting what's called a mandate to give the Jews independent or national home. But there's also Arabs over there. So the Brits decided to split it to two states. They gave the Transjordan to the Arabs, and the left, the West, British mandate over Palestine, got to a conflict because the local Arabs were not willing to get their independence here under the King of Jordan. They were saying, wait a second, no Jews over here. From the beginning. All the time. If you go back to the 1920s, you will find mini October 7th that the Arabs have executed against the Jews in the land. 1920, 1921, 1929, 1936 to 39, and then 1947, 48. These are all starting with local Arabs attacking Jews in their homes. If you don't know this history, you cannot understand us. You know when did the Jews started with their defense force? After 1920 only. They started to steal weapons from the Brits, hiding it at home to protect their neighborhoods. This is what's called the partition plan. The UN voted to part the land. The Brits said we're leaving. And look, the Jews got mostly the desert. They got the N that they purchased. And the Arabs were supposed to get the hill country, the loaf of bread, Judea and Samaria, Gaza area, and this part in the Galilee. What can you do that they did not accept this plan? And they started a war. The Jews protected and gained during this war that ends in 49, gained the pink area. This green area was taken by the Hashemite kingdom of Jordan. And since the Jordanian controlled the east bank of the Jordan River, they called this area the West Bank. They controlled there between 48 to 67, 1948, 1967. Did they give an independent Palestinian state over there? No. Oops. And you go to the Jordanians, they will, under the table, they will tell you, don't you dare get a Palestinian state. Above the table, they will be the biggest criticizer of Israel. You know who's the second foreign leader that Trump will meet next week? The King of Jordan. Why? Maybe things are happening. connected to a bigger deal that is going to happen, and maybe some Gazans will be accepted in Jordan. We don't know. But in 67, Israel will take this land, and it will stay as a disputed territory. The creation of the Gaza Strip is as a result of the war of 48-49, 47-49. The Egyptians are taking Gaza Strip, and they're giving to the local Gazans independence. It's called the State of Gaza since then until today. No. It didn't happen, what I just said. The Egyptians are taking over here. They don't give the locals independence. They barely give them Egyptian identity. Don't forget that a lot of these local Arabs who lives between the river to the sea came there, and we can prove it by last names, came there when the Brits came for job opportunities. Where did they come from? Syria, Egypt, Lebanon, Iraq. This place is blessed. The Jews built a lot of stuff over there. The Arabs took advantage of it. Always. It was known that it's better to come. Gaza started to develop only when the Brits are coming, after World War I. And these local Arabs always come and tell you, this is our land. No, they also came over there from the far distance. I want to read for you something amazing. This is the Declaration of Independence of Israel. 2 paragraphs I want to read for you. We appeal in the very midst of the war launched against us. This is May 1947, when Ben-Gurion declares the Jewish state of Israel in Tel Aviv. The war launched against us for months to the Arab inhabitants of the state of Israel to preserve peace and practice in the upbuilding of the state on the base of a full equal citizenship and due representation in all its provisional and permanent institutes. Woo! Arab inhabitants of the state of Israel. We're going to talk about them. Until today, 21% in official Israel are Israeli Arab citizens. 1% of them are Christians. All the rest are Muslims. I'll show you some of them. Until today, 21% of Israelis are Israeli Muslim Arabs. Listen to what we say to our neighbors. We extend our hand. You see this hand is still there. We extend our hand to all neighboring states and their peoples in an offer of peace and good neighboringness, and appeal to them to establish bonds of cooperation and mutual help with the sovereign Jewish people settled in its own land. The state of Israel is prepared to do its share in common effort for advancement of entire Middle East. Are you crazy? Can you blame Israel for not trying to achieve peace and give all best opportunities, for accepting this brutal partition plan? The Jews came out to the streets. My grandpa, who survived the Holocaust, said we were dancing while the Arabs were attacking us. We accepted something that we did. We were not happy about it. Same thing, by the way, with the ceasefire right now. And if you keep on attacking us and blaming us, you're again attacking the truth. Our hand is still there. Lebanon and Syria doesn't have peace with us. Jordan and Egypt has what we call cold peace. I don't think the Jordanians or the Egyptians really likes us. By the way, I have no problem with the Jordan and Egypt. I mean, let's get a hug. I want to show you where I live, okay? This is what we call the West Bank. Jerusalem is over here. We live right below the West Bank. This is a corridor that kept Jerusalem alive. Tel Aviv is down here. This is an aerial photo of the road leads from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. You can see it here in yellow. If this is more comfortable, this is Jerusalem. This is the road. The blue line over here is what we call the security fence that Israel built in 2003 to prevent from terrorists coming into Israel and explode in public buses, in cafes, like they did during the Second Intifada. My community is right over here. Right over here, Kibbutz Ma'ale Hamisha. We're not members. We're just renting over there. And we have, across the fence, a very hostile village that before October 7th, they were practicing with guns, machine guns. We heard it at night. Thank God the army went in after October 7th and arrested many terrorists over there. And on the other side, in Israel, we have 3 Arab villages that cooperated from the 20s with the Jews. All of this land has been purchased by Jews. There's 2 small communities, Kibbutz our community and another kibbutz over here, and they are cooperating with us. I have to share with you that we live, by the way, over here is Kiryat Yearim, and right over here is Hakfira, both cities that are mentioned in Joshua chapter 9 in the story of the Gibeonites. If you remember the peace treaty that Joshua is signing with the Gibeonites, that's where we live. This is Kiryat Yearim, one of the Gibeonite cities, and this is also the place where the Ark of the Covenant, after it was taken by the Philistines, and before it was brought by David to Jerusalem, it stays over here with Abinadab's family. Remember this story? So this is the Arab neighbors of us. This picture, this is all, by the way, mustard. When you come to Israel, I collected a lot of mustard seeds I can share with you from these flowers. This is our neighbors, and this is the other side. This is Ramallah, the capital of the West Bank. Tel Aviv is down here. If you stand here, it's unbelievable. You see that Ramallah is high. 4 million Israelis around Tel Aviv are low. And that's the geopolitics that you don't really get if you're not there. This point of view, it's behind the cowshed of the kibbutz. It's smelly. But I bring everyone I can over there, because then you understand why the West Bank is so important strategically. Very tough to give it to someone who wants to kill you. Because by vision, by fire, they control so many lives of Jews. Again, these are the vines. This is the community where I live. These are the Arabs around. You must understand that my daughter, she's 6. She's going to first grade. A year ago, she was going for 4 years into a daycare in our community. 2 of the ladies that were her educators were Arab Muslims. Not because we are liberals and we're trying to make peace or something, because we needed 2 educators. They came, interviewed, they were okay, good enough, and they were accepted. I do all my groceries and everything in the Arab neighbor village. I want to introduce you to 2 friends of mine. See this guy? He's responsible for this amazing hair design. His name is Kais. He's an Arab Muslim, and every month that I go to cut my hair, he puts a knife over here to shave, and he can do this and kill me. He's an Arab Muslim, and he chooses not to do that. You don't hear it in the news. From the beginning, from the 20s, they told the Jews over there, we're together. We're not fighting. This is why they stayed. They became part of Israel. This is Chef Ranem Barhum. Chef Ranem, and this is myself, we developed a food tour, a local, amazing farm-to-table food tour that I did during COVID because there were no tourists, so I did it for locals. And every time I come to his restaurant, he can poison us, the Jews, with his food. And he chooses not to, although he's an Arab Muslim. We're good friends. He's a very funny character. And it's amazing to see that his restaurant neighboring the local mosque. And because the people who, coming to the tours wants to taste some local wine, he allows me to bring local wine to his restaurant by the mosque, although he's a Muslim and they don't do alcohol. Because that's reality. We're neighbors. You don't hear it in the media. The moment that there is you don't want to kill me, everything is okay. Easy, huh? Not that easy. I'm going to jump. When you hear the word intifada for us, it means explosions of buses and mass killing of Jews, because that's what they did in 87. That's what they did in 2000. I do want to share with you October 7th. You are familiar with some of the stories. This is some smoke that goes out of the communities around Gaza. This is the northern part of Gaza. By the way, do you know what's going on here in the south end of Gaza? This is the Gaza Strip. About 7 miles long of a border with who? Egypt. Where were you, Egyptians? Why didn't you take refugees that needed help? You don't want them? Why? Maybe they're... I don't know if you remember, but when I was here last time, I showed a video of one of the terrorists invading into one of the communities and calling his mom and dad. Who's been to my talk last time? You remember maybe? They were they were encouraging him, keep on killing. He said, I killed 10 Jews. He didn't say Israelis. And I remember saying that I think that these educators of the parents are bigger terrorists than the son. And they don't look like terrorists. So Egypt didn't take them. I do want to share with you the Gaza Strip again. This is the picture, and if you have questions, we can talk about it. This is a pile of cars. We're talking about thousands of cars that they burnt along the roads. They ambushed the roads. They took over the junctions, hide in the bushes, and ambushed. We have videos of executions on the roads that they did throughout the morning of October 7th, while even to soldiers that are trying to get into the communities and save people. This is one of the junctions at the exit of the music festival. Completely butchery. All the bodies were outside of the cars. The cars were collected into big court today, big courtyard, and presented over there. It's a tough vision to see. But I think we all have to see it when you come. I do want to share you the story of Nir Oz. This is the kibbutz down here, about a mile from the border with Gaza. This is the remains of one of the houses of the oldest person in the kibbutz. You can still see the walker over here. This is the safe room that survived. All the houses of the kibbutz burnt. You can see the kibbutz burning from the neighbor community, except one house they didn't burn. I'll share with you the story of the Tzarfati family. This is Mo and their husband Itai and the 3 boys. They heard the sirens in 6:30. They went into the safe room, and minutes after they started hearing shooting, and they went into the safe room, and then they heard big booms. They invaded into their homes, and Itai, the husband, was holding the door, and the terrorists could not enter the safe room. So what they do, they put a bomb that creates fire, thermobaric bomb. The house starts to go on fire, and you can see some of the remains over here. That's a saxophone of one of the boys, and everything burnt. And they're inside this small room, 5 people, and the smoke comes in, and they understand that they're about to die. They started to take these stuffed animals. The room was used by the younger ones who had stuffed animals, so they put them on the face. You can see that one side is clean, more clean, and one side is smoke, dark from the smoke. So this did not help because the smoke was so thick. So she said, let's open the window. But the terrorists were on the roof. The window is a slide window of a very, very heavy metal to protect you because it's a safe room. The young boy hits his room, jumped on her, started to fight with his mother. Don't do that. She said, I better get a bullet in my head than die from the smoke. Imagine to yourself this crazy scene of a mother and a child fighting. How are we going to die? From the smoke or from a bullet? Thank God she managed to open a little bit of the window. This is the window. And the terrorists did not hear that. They could go to the window, breathe some air, and survive. The terrorists are living with 76 hostages from one community of 400. 31, I think, were killed at the spot, were left as dead people. This is a broken community, and God in Moses, remember the 81 years old hostage that I told you at the beginning? We're going to recover and we're going to rebuild Nir Oz. That's what he said when he came back a few days ago. That's what his interest. The one who survived by walking, remember? He said we're going to rebuild Nir Oz, our kibbutz, our community, because this is what we have. That's our home. Across, there's a grass plot the size of this group of chairs and the house of the Kedem family from the Tzarfati family. Good friends. Jonathan and Tamar are the parents, and they did not survive. The terrorists burned them alive. They shoot the door, and they could not, too much smoke went in. He's just 4 years old, and this is their graves you can see over here. They did not survive. I want to show you something. This is a video taken from the humanitarian area in Gaza, let's say around the summer. Now, what can we learn from this video is a lot. What you're going to see is a bomb falling from Israeli airplane on a little area over here. And then immediately you'll see a rocket being launched up to the sky, which means the bomb was launched to destroy the rocket. What can we learn by the fact that someone is putting a camera aiming to the exact point that someone told them the bomb is coming? This is called the knock on roof that Israel was using a lot. We used to warn them before we attack. Why? Because we were told by the Western world, be careful, don't kill kids and women, although they were taking part in terror attacks against us, but we had to do that. So this had a knock on roof. Pay attention. Now you're going to see the rocket flies. Imagine yourself how many rockets, we're talking about over 20,000 rockets that were shot from Gaza since October 7th until today. Over, I think, 15% of them, you calculate, fell in Gaza. So you're blaming us for killing dozens of thousands. What about your rockets that killed your own people? Who knows? No one knows which rocket killed who. They just blame Israel. Same as the rockets I showed you earlier. I want to share with you something. Last May, before I went back to America after my April, I went and my sister, I don't know if you recognize, this is me standing on the right. Sorry. That's me, my parents, my sister, and her new husband. They asked me, he's kind of a rebel. He didn't want a rabbi to marry them. So she told him, my brother knows how to hold the microphone. He knows a little bit about the Bible. Let's let him run the service. Little did they know that I will take it very serious. We studied a lot about the wedding and everything. I took it seriously. And look at what he's doing. He's breaking something with his leg. Do you remember breaking the glass? Why do we break something in our happiest moment of life? We break the glass as a memory to the destruction of Jerusalem that happened in the year 70. That's right after Jesus' resurrection. The temple got destroyed. And I actually shared with everyone what I'm going to share with you right now. I'm carrying a coin. I got it when I was 40 in 2022, when I thought this coin I found it. It took me years to find it. It's a very rare coin that was created by the Romans. This is the Emperor Vespasian. Unfortunately, I have his face on the other side of the coin. And this coin, this side, shows a Roman soldier put a leg on the Jewish helmet. Jewish woman crying under the palm date tree, which is the emblem of Judea, which is very poor and no fruits. And it says, Judea capta, Judah is captive. First of all, you can see that the Romans recognizing the name of the land as Judah. That's whoever is telling someone that it's not Judea, it's not ours. But I'm carrying this coin because everything that he just did over here, we still remember this event. We carry it with us, and we are announcing at this moment that we're going to build and build and build, and this will never happen. 10 years after Israel was, that's funny. What happened here, I don't know. It's a round medal that I actually have in my pocket, original one, that was made in Israel by the National Society for Medals in 1958, 10 years after Israel was established. One side we have the coin with the Roman standing on the helmet, and on the other side we have the palm tree blooming with fruits, dates, a man planting a tree, Jewish man, and a Jewish woman holding a baby in the air. A symbol of hope. And it says over here, Judah went on exile on one side with chains. The year is 70. And over here it says, decade to the freedom of Israel, 1958. I carry this because this will never happen again. We will not let it. I will not let it happen again. This is why I come to talk to you. You don't understand how big is your responsibility and people around you to keep sharing the truth. There's so much more, but more we know, more we can share. We can be a light to others. And I'm actually sad, I'm sharing, I'm so sad that this room is not full like in the morning. I really wanted more people to hear it, and I hope they are they're watching online, I hope. And if not, I hope you're going to share it with them, or maybe they will come to Israel to see this over there. You know, in Zechariah 8, he says something really amazing. In the end of chapter 8:23, thus said the Lord of hosts, in those days 10 men from the nations of every tongue shall take hold of the robe of a Jew, saying, let us go with you, for we have heard that God is with you. So no worries, we're there waiting for you. You don't need to hold my robe. I'll take you on a bus and we'll go to Jerusalem together. So I hope we'll do it together. And you remember my grandparents saying next year in Jerusalem? I'm telling you, next year I'm going to see you in Jerusalem. I hope Pastor Randy is watching at home, and then we're going to work on a trip together to come and visit me and to see Jerusalem, see the truth, learn about the Bible, see the people, meet the people, eat very good food, and for the trip of the lifetime. Before questions, I do want to take as many as you want. I want to say a few things. This QR code is leading to my website. My website, I want to share with you two things. First of all, we need your support. Everything I do is self-sponsored. I pay my flights, my car, because unfortunately we don't have organizations that can really help us. And this QR code that you can actually take a flyer about me, and the QR code is there, leads you to a part of my website that has a list of numbers that you can choose how much to support. I cannot leave an open link, unfortunately, but it's leading you to a secured credit card payment that everything will be a blessing for me and my family, and also for me to keep on doing what I'm doing. Hopefully, we'll be blessed with people coming there so I can come back here to do this more. And if you have friends who wants to come to Israel, tell them you know some little Jewish guy who can help a lot, or tell them about this and we can come and talk at their church if they want. Let's see. Pastor Garrett, can we go to the website? Let's try something. Okay, so when you get to this page at the website, first of all, I want to show you on top of the website there is my email, WhatsApp, TripAdvisor, Facebook, YouTube. Everything is here. This is all the amounts you click, and you choose whatever you want, and you can pay now, later, whenever you want. And then you can go click over here, and you can choose. Go to the club. The second one, yes. And this is something really important for me. If you scroll down, this is called the Real Israel, and you can see my shirt. This is actually a club I created to stay in touch. You fill up your name, last name, email, subscribe. Just make sure you tell me that you're not a robot. And then you're supposed to get an email. If you didn't get an email from Yoav at yoavrotem.com, so look for it in your, how do you call it, not rush, spam. Look for it in spam, and make Yoav at yoavrotem.com a contact at your website. You're going to get updates from me. You can join the WhatsApp group. Actually, when you join the club, there is a click to join the WhatsApp group, or even here in this part, you can scroll down a little bit more. And I think this is Ranem. I interviewed him. In the Real Israel Club, what I do, I try to bring Real Israel to you. I try to bring the people that you don't hear in the news, and I interview them. I actually started interviewing people in the north, coming back to their homes, and some people with security background, and try to meet people, again, not celebs, not the chief of staff, not the ministers, people that you don't hear them. So that's part of the club. It's all on YouTube, but you're going to get email updates from me and videos of me. Can you scroll a little bit down more? All right, you see, wait a second. You see this button? It says WhatsApp group. This is the best, because there's no spam deleting me. There's no Facebook. By the way, there's a Facebook group called the Real Israel Club, or Yoav's Real Israel Club. You can join it too. When you join the club, you'll be a click to join it, or you can friend me on Facebook and then ask me to join. On the group on Facebook, I update everything there as well. But the WhatsApp group is directly to you, a notification. Tells you, hey, Yoav is updating, there's a video, you'll see an update from the Sea of Galilee. You'll see an update from Bethlehem. You'll see an update from Capernaum, from Nazareth, from the Mount Carmel, from the border with that's really cool. Stay in touch. All right? That's the way also to contact me. The best WhatsApp, I can record you and I can speak to you for free. Data using only. Your questions, por favor. Every question is legal. Yes? Very good question. The U.S. change in administration. You all saw in the news how Trump said, even before he came to office, that until January 20th, you better bring the hostages back. It moved to a deal. We don't like the deal, the Israelis, because not all the hostages included in the deal. But I suspect there is more behind it. And this is why Benjamin Netanyahu is in the office right now. Very important. For example, the Biden administration prevented from Israel some very important war machines and weapon. Do you know what is the D9? D9 is the main tool that we can fight terror with. How? Soldiers, I mean, I've been to the army. When you go into these places now, they put a lot of side bombs. This is so scary. This is so dangerous because they don't care about who's driving this road. Under the road, they put a bomb, and when the army is driving there, boom, you're dead. So these D9s, these big bulldozers, we need them because they go ahead of all the forces, and they describe the roads and take all the side bombs and explode them. Super important machine for fighting and also helping to protect the soldiers and destroying a lot of terrorist facilities. We have dozens of those that we bought, and Biden did. I don't know exactly if it's Biden himself or someone in the administration stopped it. Trump released it already. 40 of them are in Israel since he came. There's some bombs that we needed maybe to attack tunnels and stuff like that, and maybe nuclear weapon, I don't know, facilities that were prevented from Israel. And again, this whole claim of war crimes and how do they call it? When killing, mass killing and genocide. This is nonsense. I have friends who've been to Gaza. Their friends died because they didn't shoot areas that were suspect with civilians. We do our best to protect their own civilians, and you blame us for killing. What can you do that their fighters or their terrorists are holding civilians who are poisoned in their brain and support these terrorists, but they're still civilians, and that's a huge problem for us. And you cannot ignore it. And again, if the Western world was speaking in the language of terrorism, like for example, Putin is speaking, there was no terrorism in Gaza after 1 month. So the Trump changing something very important. No one spoke in the past, up until now, about something that's very, very frightening the local Arabs. Letting them an option to live. What will happen if Hamas will not have people buying the humanitarian aid from them? They won't have money. What if they won't have mothers that makes children, and the children will not become terrorists anymore? They will stay by themselves over there in Gaza. That's frightening them. And also the fact that which will show that these people are sick of fighting the Israelis, and we can't stay here. We want to live in better life, maybe in Canada, maybe in Greenland, maybe in Malaysia, maybe in Jordan, maybe in Egypt. Trump started to push on that, and this is something that Israelis, right-wing mostly, but it is something that most of Israelis understand today, that we cannot trust the Palestinians anymore, at least for the next few decades. And everyone who speaks for peace and Palestinian state is something that is, in my opinion, I know some people that say, this is the solution. I agree, maybe this is a solution one day in the far future, but as for now, they need to prove they're going to stop wanting to kill us. How? They'll have to detox their people. It's not easy. By education, by taking people out of there, by bringing leaders, brave leaders that will say, we agree with Israel, we say maybe sorry for 1920, for 1921, remember the first time they started that to attack, and definitely for October 7th. We don't recognize, we don't think October 7th was a smart idea, we don't support October 7th. Let's hear these voices. So Trump is very strong, it's very obvious, against terrorism, and not only him, a lot of people around him that involved with the region are basically good with Israel, good for Israel. But at the end of the day, Trump is Trump, and he does what's good for America first, and we see it. This is why, again, the deal that happened lately in Gaza, a lot of Israelis felt very bad for many reasons. For the fact that not everyone are coming back. We have alive people there, youngsters, that are not included in the next weeks coming back to their parents. People from the party, soldiers, from Kibbutz Nir Oz, they still have hostages over there. That's crazy that we have to give 30 terrorists for one, even more, and they are not giving us everyone. Because they're holding these hostages because they know the moment we don't have hostages, they're gone. That's what kept them alive. They won in October 7th. That's the basic problem. More questions? Don't be afraid. Ask. All right? Yes. I don't know. It seems like he will. And I think this is why Netanyahu is in the office right now. Because Netanyahu, his government, he's going to lose his government if this will happen. Because this government, there is a very strong section from far right, extreme right, that got a lot of power in the last elections because of a lot of toxic they brought into the political map of Israel. And they will not stay in the Netanyahu government, so it's going to drop his government down. Now, what I think Netanyahu wants from Trump is, if you're going to force me to end the war, because bringing all the hostages back is, America will have to be protective of these terrorists from Israel. Why? Because they will have to promise them that it's the only way that Israel, that the terrorists will trust Israel is by American, we will make sure Israel won't attack you. Now, what I think Netanyahu will ask is a few things. First of all, annexing some parts of the West Bank to Israel. Sea zones is where all the Israelis are living in, which means, in a way, it's the biggest punishment they can get. They lost land. They could have had a state in bigger area, they won't have. They'll have to understand that as long as they're going to attack, they're going to lose and lose and lose until, like happened in Gaza, they lost Gaza. And so this will be a little gift for the right wing in Israel. Maybe they will stay. And also the Saudi deal. What happens in Saudi with Saudi can help a lot to America, to all the people that are allies with America, because it can create a chain of supply from India, which is the biggest nation in the world, all the way to Europe and further to the Atlantic Ocean even. That's something huge that actually Biden started. I don't know, maybe Biden tried to develop it. It's going to bring Saudi and the Emirates and Egypt and Jordan. This is why the King of Jordan is coming to the White House next week as well. They have a key role in that because they neighboring Israel from the east. They will have to allow trains or something to come from Saudi. Goods will have to be loaded from the Emirates, crossing the desert and get to Haifa and Ashdod ports in Israel. So it's very sensitive with Israel as well. Really, but we talked about it. This unwritten rule that you pay your life to your government by going to the army, by paying tax, by everything, and your government and your state, not government, your state, because it means all governments, responsible for not letting you die, making sure you're safe, especially if someone took you as a hostage because you're Israeli, to bring you back. And even if you're dead, to bring you back to a grave into Israel. So big part of the Israelis expecting from the government to do so. We all know the price we pay is huge. You need to understand that these terrorists that are being released, some of them go to the West Bank, they go across from me, we can see them. They shoot in the air, they're so happy. And these people killed my family in the past. Some of them responsible for a mass killing of dozens of Israelis, suicide bombers, themselves killing with their hands babies in their bed in the beginning of 2000s. And they were supposed to be in prison for their life. Israel doesn't have death. By the way, there are more and more voices speaking in the Israeli parliament for making a law for terrorists that committed killing against Israelis for a death penalty. Why don't we do it right now? Because we have the hostages. No one can run it in the parliament because it's too dangerous for the hostages. We need to make sure we won't have any more hostages. This is why Israel is very aggressive with Lebanon, with Hezbollah. This is why Israel was very aggressive with Gaza and very aggressive in Syria as well. And we have to put an eye on Jordan because Jordan is very unstable. More questions? Yes. Look, I don't think there are pro-Palestinians. A lot of people are just against Israel. Because if you're pro-Palestinian, you care about the Palestinians. Let's talk about how we help to the Palestinians by fighting for their women's rights, fighting for their human rights, while Hamas is hurting everything in their life. Now, if they're not open for discussion, there's no chance. I've had in Lawton, Oklahoma, 3 people, they were allowed into the church. There was a lot of security around, it was all in the media because they posted on Facebook, and they were sitting and listening to my things and then started shouting at the end when the questions came. They were escorted out, and these people are not, their ears are blocked, but I'm talking about the innocent people, those youngsters that have been fed from TikTok and from YouTube and from whatever. And you need to try. If they don't take the bite, so it's impossible. But if they are willing to sit and listen and to talk, I will listen to them as well. By the way, my big vision and dream is and I'm working on it, to have a nonprofit that will enable influencers to come to Israel. The visit to Israel is showing you the reality and the truth. Now, sometimes people go and visit and they're being taken by Palestinians purposely into poor areas, into the West Bank, and shows how the army is not letting you go there, not letting you there, because the army is protecting Israel. So they're not seeing the right perspective. But majority of visitors that will come to Israel will understand the reality much better. And I purposely want they will come with me because I'll show them my Arab friends and show them that we have no intentions of killing Arabs. We just want to protect ourselves. And that's what we do. Whoever blames us for other things, there are Israelis that are doing wrong things. They are being judged by court in Israel. It's a good question. It's not easy. Some people have been brainwashed, especially here. But the amazing thing is to keep on sharing. And if you want to get more information, to create your own videos or your content, I'm willing to help. Anyone else? I will just say, outside I have the desk, some of you saw it. There's some jewelries jewelers that makes in Bethlehem and Jerusalem, silver jewelries and some gold. They wanted me to help them to sell because they haven't sold so much, so you're more than welcome to have a look. The shirts goes for $25. I will sell 5 for $100 if you want to take 5, so you'll make my bag lighter for the way back, because tomorrow I start my way back to Israel. So again, I really want you to stay in touch. Go to the Real Israel, and if you have friends let them join the club. You can always send me an email or a message, Yoav, I want to join the club, and I'll add you to the list and send you the WhatsApp connection or whatever you want. But when you do it, it's automatically added, and I don't have to really. But you're more than welcome to write me personally and everything. Thank you again for coming, for sacrificing your time, and I hope it was helpful, and I hope you liked it. And see you next year in Jerusalem. Thank you.
All right, real quick, before you guys go, we would like to just take up a special love offering. Again, I know we took some up this morning, but you guys might have not had the opportunity to give. So we just want to, again, just take up a quick love offering. Our I Serve team that's here tonight, they're going to come with some buckets real quick. So I'm just going to pray real quick, pray for Yoav and pray for the offering. Lord Jesus, I just thank you for Yoav and just the word that he's given us and his heart for his people and his home, Lord God. And I know that's your heart as well, is for Israel. So, Lord God, I just pray for him. Just give him safe traveling mercies to Arizona and then back home. Protect his family, protect his people. And, Lord God, I thank you for him, Lord God. I thank you for everybody that showed up tonight. And just give us a good week, Lord, in Jesus' name. Amen. So, like I said, the buckets are going to be passed here in just a second. And then you guys are free to go. Thank you guys very much. Have a blessed week.